morning, beautiful people. It is a fantastic week of college football that we have planned ahead for you. I'm Lucas Hill here of CFB Whispers. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Turn off the bell notifications so that you are notified for every time we post a new video here with CFB Whispers. Also, check out the podcast version of the episode over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Also, make sure you follow us on the socials on Facebook at CFB Whispers, TikTok at CFB Whispers, and on X at We Talk Ball for more from the best content from the best sports entity on the internet, covering everything college football 24/7, 365 days of the week. Today we're going to be talking a lot about some of the more underrated games of the weekend that maybe most of the college football world isn't really talking about right now. So let's go ahead and let's get into this discussion as we enter the final weekend of October. Man, it's crazy. It's already going to be the final weekend. So when you look at some of these games, guys, it's very, very big. It's big in the ACC, the SEC. You're starting to see some separation in the Big Ten. It's anybody's ball game at this point. So let's go ahead and let's get into the first official game that we're going to be seeing this upcoming weekend, and that is Syracuse and Pitt that will be playing this upcoming Friday over on ESPN. So we do have a lot with that one coming up. Look, Syracuse comes in with a brand new quarterback this past season, off season, and everybody's like, well, we're not sure what to think. Well, Kyle McCord's had a fantastic start to the year. 2,100 yards passing, 19 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. He's taking more shots down the field, and you're really starting to see what he was missing whenever he was at Ohio State. Is that the confidence that he lacked whenever he was with Ryan Day and company? He's got that now with Syracuse. They lost that one game to Stanford that really they should have had throughout that football game. McCord made some big mistakes down the stretch of that football game. But if you look overall, Syracuse at one point had just over an 80% chance to win that football game before Stanford came back and won. And everybody's like, well, Stanford's back, and now look at what Stanford's at now. Anyway, the rest of the year, they've just been on fire. McCord's in a passing offense. He threw 63 passes 3 weeks ago against UNLV in an overtime thriller. 2 weeks ago, the last game they played, 31-42, 346, 2 touchdowns on the day. But look, they're going to have to rely on this kid throughout the entirety of this football game. And it's going to be against their first real big test of the game. Now, it's at Pitt. It's in Pittsburgh. Dude, this is going to be a fun little battle. LaQuint Allen has had a pretty strong start to the season. Last 3 games, been averaging close to 4.5 yards a carry to go along with 4 touchdowns. I mean, he's just been a really, really good receiver. He's been effective out of the backfield in the receiving game as well. Ran for over 1,000 yards last year. Had 38 receptions last year. He's already got 31, and we're halfway through the season. So if there is one quarterback that I think is going to be one very underrated when it comes to the ACC race, that would obviously be Kyle McCord. But there's another quarterback that I think would carry the same fate, and that's also Eli Holstein, the transfer from Alabama. I played against Eli in high school whenever he was at Zachary. This guy is a freaking legend around Zachary, Louisiana. This dude is an absolute baller of an athlete. This guy is huge. I mean, very, very big. 6'4", 225 pounds. He can lay down the wood too. But he's coming off of one of his worst games of the year. 14-28, 133, a 50% completion rate, the 2 interceptions, and got sacked twice. He got sacked 5 times against West Virginia. But he played a really efficient game, ran the football quite a bit. 9 carries for 93 yards against Youngstown State. 2 weeks ago against Cal, 17 carries, 15 yards. Holy cow. So if you're Eli Holstein, you have to come up with a much better game than what you've shown last week against a stingy Cal defense. And when you add the running game of Desmond Reed, that's coming off of one of his best performances of the year, 16 carries, 120 yards, averages 7.5 yards a carry to go along with 2 touchdowns to go along with that 1 reception. He had 11 receptions for 155 against North Carolina at the beginning of August, or at the beginning of October. And then Custom Humphrey, who's been the number 1 target for him all year, he's got 2 games with over 100 yards plus. So he's going to be wide receiver 1, a guy that Syracuse's defense is going to have to lock in on. Both of these teams, they're not supposed to be in this position in the ACC, still undefeated. Look at the top 5 right now. Clemson and Miami are undefeated right now. Not a lot of people had a lot of confidence with Clemson at the start of the year. But ever since that Georgia game, they've just been a different team. They beat up on North Carolina State. They beat up on Florida State, Wake Forest, Virginia. They've started off slow, but they've continued to get better. When you look at Miami, you know about them and what Cam Ward has done, putting up Heisman-like numbers. SMU's 3-0 in the Rhett Lashley offense. Pitt, we just talked about them, and then Duke, and then Syracuse, Virginia Tech, all at 2-1. Guys, this is a really, really deep ACC that could be anybody's game. They could even be playing spoiler to Miami and Clemson at the end of the year. So when you look at the overall opportunity that Pitt has in front of them, it's at home. It's their second big test of the year. If they can get past Syracuse, you go to SMU the very next week, you win there, you've got a lot of momentum riding on the rest of the year because your final few games are against Virginia, at home against Clemson. That could be an upset alert right there. You're at Louisville, at Boston College. If you finish the season at least 11-1, you're still in that race to potentially get that final spot in the CFP. Because I think Pitt is a legitimate playoff team. I do. And that's really bold of me to say, knowing just how the ACC is and how they haven't really had a tough test. But I think that win against Clemson and I think that win against SMU could come back and really help them at the end of the day. Either one of those wins is going to help Pitt at the end of the day. And for Syracuse, here was a team that coming into this game, nobody expected them to be 5-1 going into a big-time game. Obviously, their first test of the year with Fran Brown, his first head coaching job of his young career, only 42 years old. And just look what he's done ever since he's been at this Syracuse team. He's just turned them into a winner. And that's what's awesome about a guy like Fran Brown. He's a young guy, brings a lot of experience to the table, and I think that when you pair him and going up against a guy like Pat Narduzzi, who's had plenty of experience in the ACC, who I think is one of the best to have come through Pitt, you're going to see a guy that I think you're going to see a battle of wits, arguably one of the top defenses in the ACC going up against an offense that can explode at any time in Syracuse. So that's a game that I would go ahead and look forward to in the upcoming weeks. I do think that the rest of the year for both of these teams, when you look at Syracuse, their big opportunities at the end of the year against Miami. I think if they get past Pitt, they'll be smooth sailing up until they get to Cal. That could be a trap game right there. Boston College as well could be another one. And then when you go play Miami, holy cow. If you can hang in with Miami at the end of the year, you've done some great things in year one. You're sitting at 5-1 where not a whole lot of people in the ACC even predicted you would make a bowl game. But you win this upcoming game, get yourself bowl eligible, that's a big win for year one of the Fran Brown era. For a team that had no expectations after several failing years with Dino Babers, I mean, you got to be a really, really optimistic Orangeman fan, knowing what you had to deal with Dino Babers coming in last year and just absolutely stinking it up after 7 years of just up and down type of seasons. After a 10-win season in 2018, you go to the bottom of the ACC going in 1-10. You go back to a bowl game, And then just 2023 was just a horrible year. You start off 4-0, you get beat up by Clemson, North Carolina, Florida State, they beat you up pretty good. And then when you look at what you did this year, you have an opportunity to get to a better bowl game. Now you're looking at where Syracuse is and say that this could be a future contender in the ACC. So let me know what you guys' thoughts are in the bottom of the comments below. Guys, let me know your thoughts. Is Syracuse the future of the ACC? Or is it Pitt? Could the winner of this game prove themselves to be such? Because it looks very likely. Because I don't think Miami's success is going to last a while. We were already seeing Clemson kind of go down that hill as well. Because especially if they don't evolve to where college football is now with the transfer portal, with where NIL stands. I think if both of these teams could be going on, and we could be seeing a rotating contender of ACCs, or we could be seeing a rotating contender for the ACC and much more. So guys, once again, like, share, subscribe to CFB Whispers. Guys, thank you for the continued growth. We literally just launched this just over a month ago. We're already at over 2,500 subscribers. We appreciate your patience throughout the last few weeks. It's been hurricane events that have affected the Florida area and the Charleston area. So we want to thank Cam, and we want to wish the rest of his crew the best out in where they are location-wise and knowing just everything that they have gone through so far. So we appreciate your patience. We appreciate everything you guys have done just to stick with us. So we'll see you guys next time. And for next time, so long on CFB Whispers.